Alright, we're here today. We're going to start off with some blue cards. The white ones were not very impressive, so let's see if the blue ones can be any better. We have Backstreet Bruiser at 1 of the blue 3/3 defender. As long as there are 2 or more counters among creatures you control, Backstreet Bruiser can attack as though it didn't have defender. You know, the card, at common, they just had these defenders in the past for blue. They're slightly like oversized defenders, and they've generally not been played. That being said, a 3/3 is nice. It lets you block every other 2-drop. I think if you're like in the mood for it, this is probably fine. But I would expect that you probably don't want to main deck this most of the time. It seems like it'd probably be a pretty good sideboard card. Alright, so Broker's Veteran. When Broker Veteran dies, put a shield counter on target creature you control. I'm off Goblin Piker. I'm off this. It's like Goblin Piker, if you have another creature, maybe it does something when it dies. Yeah, I'm not... This looks pretty bad to me. Willing to believe I'm underestimating shield counters, but probably not by very much. Case the Joint. Draw 2 cards, then look at the top card of each player's library. Very flavorful. Looks pretty bad. Like, this is certainly worse than 2 and a blue draw 2 at sorcery speed. Yeah, I'm not... I'm generally, like, pretty high on this draw 2s in general and sealed, but this one looks, like, pretty overcosted. Like, Beholding Multiverse was insane, which was the Foretell. For 2 mana, draw 2, or scry 2, draw 2. But... yeah, Alex Canada 2020, I'm not sure why you're looking at this card. You don't have to play bad cards to support casualty cards. You can actually just play good cards instead. Like, instead of doing like, 2 plus 1 is 3, why don't you just do like a 4 plus 1 is 3? Why do you gotta have or 4 plus 1 is 5, I should say. Like, why, you could just play a better card. You don't have to play a bad card to support something else. Like, good cards are good, but they don't need anything else. Gosh, I think at 4 mana, like, people are just playing like these awesome 4-drops, and I don't think you can afford to just on turn 4 draw 2 cards instead of playing an awesome 4-drop. Like, if this was a 5 mana draw 3, I'd be much more interested in it, but 4 mana draw 2, I'm not a fan of. This card actually seems quite good. You're probably going to be main decking this most of the time. It's not an auto include, so I'm not gonna like an auto include would mean basically if something is rated between 6 and 10, it's basically if you're playing this color, it should always be in your deck. 1 and 2 are cards that you should basically never be playing. And 3, 4, and 5 are cards like, a 5 is something that you're gonna play like 90% of the time, right? And then a 4 is something you're gonna play like 50% of the time, and a 3 is gonna play like 10% of the time, right? And Disdainful Stroke seems like a type of card that's going to play like 90% of the time. Disdainful Stroke has been in sealeds in the past, and it's been a fantastic sideboard card and a main deck card. Like, basically, this gets better the better the decks are. It's going to be like really hard to play around this card because the 2-drops look so good. Like, if your opponent's on the play and they go like, 3-drop into 2-drop plus leave open 2 mana on turn 4, you're in trouble. You're trying to play a 4-drop on turn 4, that's like a game over scenario. It seemed like this format was mostly about 4-drops. Echo Inspector. Enters the battlefield of Knives. Okay, this looks reasonable. It can have 4 toughness. It's a really good blocker. Like, as far as common goes, a 4 toughness flying blocker seems totally reasonable. Here's a question. Here's the thing that I'm really concerned about. Is that there's not like flashback in the set or jumpstart. There's no way to like your discard isn't like a second hand is what it seems in this set. So like I'm concerned as to like how am I getting these cards? How am I getting these spells I'm discarding to these connives? That's really weird to me. And don't tell me don't tell me that whatever the white card, this aura, do not tell me this. This is not the answer. This looks really good. This probably is this might actually be like a really strong card to also get threshold for Maestros. Like you make that you connive, you just got a spell, and you probably it's a 3/4, you block with it and it dies, right? So it's another 4-mana card in the graveyard. So it'll probably put 2 spells in the graveyard for your threshold. Alright, 1 mana 1/1, 2 mana exile from your graveyard. Create a 1/1 blue flea. Okay, so this is the flashback card. Okay. These cards are all way better than they ever look. Like, if you remember the after, what is it? Whatever the spirit one was. You know, when Luminarch, the 1 mana 1/1 that gains 1 life every time your creature comes into play. And then flashback was a 1 flyer that gained 1 life whenever one of your creatures left play. That was like the best common in the set. I'm not saying this is anywhere near that power level, but this is a card that I could totally see playing. It seems like this is just an enabler. Works with self-mill, it works with connive, works with casualty, right? Because you can just play it, and then you sack it to casualty, and then you can even get a fish to sack to casualty too. It seems like it just enables everything. Yeah, this card actually looks pretty good. That being said, it's not going to be it for every deck. Like, if you don't have casualty, like if you don't open the right casualty cards and you have like 1 or 2 connivers, I'm not sure you'd play this. It's also a citizen. You're right. It is a citizen. This might be a little bit like, I actually didn't like the 1 mana 1/1 in sealed. I thought in draft it was a different story. I thought that the 1 mana 1/1 that was an insane draft card was not very good in sealed. Just because sealed is so much more about rares, and rares don't really care about life total very much. So I guess it depends if there's casualty cards at common that are like actually good. Like there's like a 3 mana like sack a creature, you know, destroy a creature with mana value 3 or less or something in black. Like then this card just starts being amazing. But I have no idea yet. We haven't gone to those colors. Typically, like, basically, synergy cards are not very good in sealed because you don't have synergy in sealed. You just have your 23 best cards. You'll often you'll have like a connive card, a casualty card, and a citizen card. You'll have something from every single family in your deck, and those are just the best cards that you opened. And so there's really not a whole lot of like these 3 cards combined create something greater than the sum of its parts, which is what synergy kind of basically is trying to imply. Until end of turn, target artifact or creature becomes a 4/4 angel artifact creature and gains flying. The flying part is the interesting part of this. Suit Up in the previous set was completely insane, but there were a lot of different reasons for that. Because there was ninjutsu, so it punished you if you didn't block, and the 5th top test was a big deal. Here, like, your opponent isn't exactly incentivized to block your creatures if you're playing blue, but generally your creatures are smaller than theirs. And so, like, yeah, I'll go, you attack me with your 2/2 into my 3/3, okay, I'll just take it, go to 18, right? And then you're like, okay, well, I was really planning on you blocking, and you didn't block, so... Yeah, you can turn treasures into 4/4s, it's not going to happen very often, I suspect. And the baseline for the format seems to be 4/4 for 4. So like if you use this to turn your 2/2 into a 4/4 and you block something, you're often you're losing 2 cards, they're losing 1, and you're drawing a card, which means you're probably losing on the trade. Because you're also spent you spent 3 additional mana. And so I typically do not like these types of effects in sealed. They're pretty easy to play around, pretty easy telegraphed, especially when it comes to MTG Arena, where there probably are not going to be very many like instants for 3 mana that your opponent's going to have. They're going to have priority at times, at weird times. You're just going to know they have it in their hand. Yeah, drawing a card isn't drawing a full card, because in Seal, typically every land beyond your 6 is a blank. So drawing a card is like drawing 0.6 of a card. So it's not a strict upgrade there. Your blue decks are typically not creature decks. This is where like creature combat is not a thing you want to be a part of when you're playing blue. Okay, 1 in a blue, casualty 1. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 2. I'm not a huge fan of mana leaks types of effects and miscalculation, you know, just Dispel, like, Spell Pierce type of effect. I think it was a really good cyber card if your opponent has really expensive, like, 5 or 6 mana or 7 mana cards that you want to counter. I'm not interested in sacrificing a creature to cast this card. I mean, and technically, you can use this to counter your opponent's, like, 2 casualty spells they cast, right? Where so it's like a 2 for 2. That's the whole joke. I don't think that's something that's going to happen. There was, like, a double counter spell in the Cascade set, right? And like, I don't remember, like, ever countering 2 spells with my counter spell. That could technically counter 2 spells. Flying 2 mana, it gains lifelink until end of turn. Lifelink is really good. It is flying. This card looks pretty good. There was... What was it in the Blood set? Wasn't there like a 4 mana... Was there a 4 mana 2/3 or 4 mana... Was it a 4 mana 2/3 that you can pay a mana to give it lifelink? That also increased your life gains by 1, right? And that card was really good. Heron of Hope? Yeah, is that what it was? Heron of Hope is really good. Oh, that was the login music. Hope you enjoyed that. The MTGO login music. Yeah, clank, clank, clank. Thank you. Flying plus lifelink is always good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would go that to say that they're always good, but I mean, it's certainly cheap enough. Yeah, it was a 4 mana 2/3. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. Yeah, that card was really good. So this one will probably be pretty similar. Deciding whether I want to make it a 5, a 4, 5, or 6. It's also a citizen. It votes. You are right. Oh, you know, I didn't think about that. Gosh, I didn't think about that. There's so many flash cards. Do you think I underrated this Swooping Protector? This card seems like a disaster. Like, I rated it as a 7. Yeah, it's probably just a 7, right? This card just seems bananas. This thing is just gonna eat it's just an this is the white FTK. Yeah, it's the alpha bird right here. Gosh. I don't know how often I'm gonna be playing this. We'll put this as a 5 for now. I'm willing to believe it might be a 6. 2 and a blue 0/3 flash. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. I mean, obviously having 4 toughness is a big deal for a 3-drop. But... Oh, by the way, it's also a 1/4 flash. Oh, goodness gracious. There are so many flash creatures in this set. It's just so tilting. They're just always going to have it. You know, there's something I didn't comment on when it came to this. Is that it works really well with Connive. Is the ++1 counter is on top of it. Like, if you put it on a creature that has a ++1 counter, it becomes a 5/5. That makes this card a lot better. That actually makes this card a lot better. This card I don't think is very good. Sealed is not about like ground creatures that don't have 4 power, right? And you might not always have a spell to discard to this, so like a 3 mana 0/3 is even more worthless because every 2-drop has 3 power. I don't think you want to play that. It might be a decent sideboard card if your opponent is just all 3 power creatures for like 2 or 3 mana, but I think you're really overestimating Connive getting a counter. I think you will not have a counter that often. Especially since I haven't found a lot of card advantage in the set, and so you don't really want to be discarding spells, like, basically ever. Rooftop Nuisance, Casualty 1, tap target creature, it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Draw a card. This card seems really freaking good. Wow, this card seems really, really, really good. Yeah, Divination and Divination and tap 2 things. He's gonna sack a Duder. Even if you don't sack a Duder, it's still a good card. This card is really good. Yeah, I mean, if it was instant speed, it'd be like an 8, right? Sorcery does make it less than an 8. Yeah, this is probably a 6 or a 7. If you're interested in attacking, this is a 6 or a 7. It does seem like this is going to end a lot of games. But the thing is, there's actually just so much lifelink in this set, right? There's so much lifelink in this set that it's possible that your opponent, like, getting 2 hits in may not kill your opponent. It's either a 6 or a 7. I'll put it as a 6 for now. You do need to have some way to, like, casualty it, right? I'm not sure how. Well, maybe your opponent, you know, gifted you a creature to put on the rooftop distance. The owner of target. Oh, you know what? Another thing I didn't think about. This card gets a lot worse because this card exists, right? This card gets a lot worse when most people are gonna have that 3 mana 2/1 in their deck. Yeah, actually, this card gets a lot worse. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their library. It is weird that they have this in the same set as like the other one, right? There's just like an uncommon green, white, blue one that does this. Yeah, Endless Detour. That's so weird. They're in the same set. That being said, it's like a reasonable card. It's versatile. I don't think it might be a better cyber card than a main deck one. Security bypass. 2 mana enchant creature. As long as this enchanted creature is attacking alone, it cannot be blocked. Whenever this creature deals damage to a player, it connives. This is not Curiosity. This seems pretty bad. It's an enchant creature that, I don't know. And if you discard a spell, it's like it's even worse for you if you discard a spell then they like untap and kill your creature. That's just disastrous. You're down 3 spells at that point. You got 3 for 1 when that happens. Sewer Crocodile, 4 mana, cannot be blocked this turn. This ability costs 3 less to activate if there are 5 or more. Oh. Classic giant creature that can't be blocked for blue. 1 mana to make it unblockable late game. This one does not seem that bad. It's a good stat line. Seems like it's going to beat everything in combat that we've seen so far. It does end games very fast. It doesn't help you get... I guess the fact that it costs 6 mana helps you get Threshold as well, right? Because you're not going to have that many 6-drops in your deck. You're probably going to want to play this card just because it's going to be unique mana cost. And it's just going to be a giant creature. Get out of here, Heron of Hope. Sorry about that. Witness Protection. Enchant creature. Enchant creature loses all abilities and is a green and white citizen creature with base power done as 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. It loses all other colors, card types, creature types, and all names. This is a really, really flavorful card. It's really cool. 1 mana is pretty cheap for this type of effect. One thing you can do with this is you can, like, if they have like a 2/5, you can attack with your 3/3, they block, and then post-combat, you can just turn their creature into a legitimate business person, and then it dies, because it has damage on it. Right, so you can play as post-combat to kill, like, actual big problems if you just wanted the creature dead. Yeah, I mean, the problem is they still can sack it to casualty, but it has to have a casualty 1 card, which is... Maybe there aren't that many casualty 1 cards. Well, it doesn't have flash. If it had flash, it'd be a blue Fatal Blow. This looks like a playable card. The fact that it's so cheap has to be worth it. The fact that it costs 1 mana is actually probably a pretty good thing. That's probably a good reason to want this card in your deck, the fact that it costs 1. Because it's probably a 1 that will get to the graveyard pretty often and to give you Threshold, right? So I think that actually probably goes a pretty long way for this. Because the 1/1's going to attack or block or do something, right? The 1/1 is actually going to be actively in combat and go away at some point. And then when its protection will give you Threshold somehow. Yeah, this actually lets you come back from behind when you're mana screwed or something, yeah. Looks pretty good. It does get around shield, sort of. I mean, it'd be like a 1/1 shield at the end of that, right? And it doesn't work against +1/+1 counters very well. It turns them into smaller creatures. Turns them into 2/2s if they have counters on them, yeah. It does have downsides. Maybe bypassing shield's a good thing, though. Because who cares if they have a 1/1 shield? I mean, maybe they, like, block your giant creature a time or two, but... It's a price you're willing to pay. One in a blue, a little chat. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. So the idea, this is like basically Village Rites, right? I mean, that's a 2-mana blue Village Rites, but ideally you just cast this in response to your opponent killing one of your cards. Or if they have like a pacifism on one of your cards, right? You're probably just going to always play this. The front side's not horrible, like anticipates a card that you play, and it's probably, it's a split card Village Rites / anticipate type deal. I like that it helps you when you keep a 2-lander. An offer you can't refuse. Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Oh, this is so cheap. You're not casting this turn 2 or turn 3. You're casting this on like turn 5, right? You're playing a 4-drop on turn 4. And then on turn 5, you're playing another 4-drop, and then you're holding up on a blue mana for this. And they like try to kill one of your 4-drops, and you counter it, and that's like pretty awesome. And it's like turn 6, so your opponent getting 2 treasures on turn 6 doesn't matter. If you're playing a treasure deck, you can just play this, yeah, I guess. Like if you're playing like a white, green, red deck that has a lot of treasure makers, you can board this in theory, I guess. I think this is mostly just a sideboard card. I probably wouldn't main deck it. Because the primary form of interaction in sealed is going to be creatures. I think it's worse than Disdainful Stroke. But I think it's a really good sideboard card. Yeah, I'll put it as a 3 just to make sure that it's more of a sideboard card. I don't think you want to main deck it. Flash flying whenever you draw your second card each turn. Wait, this is a reprint. This card is pretty good. Another flash blocker, by the way. No big deal. Yeah, it was a flash from Eldraine. Weirdly enough, they seem to be, it doesn't even work with a little chat, right? Because you don't draw the card from little chat. You simply put the card from the top of your library into your hand. There's legally distinct from drawing a card. The Fairy Vandal wants nothing to do with it. Yeah, I mean, it works with Kanag, I guess. It was pretty good back in the day. It's like not hard for this to be a 2/3. It could be a 3/4. 1 mana, 1/2, 3 mana Connive. It's not sorcery speed either. This is interesting. Pretty good to get threshold with this. 4 mana for a 1/2 Connive is a lot, though. And a 7 mana for a 1/2 that connives twice is a lot. It doesn't tap it, so it also has haste, right? So you can use it on the turn you play it. A 3? I think this is a playable card. This is a mana sink, yeah. It lets you turn, if you have just a bunch of mana, it lets you eventually do something with it. The fact that it costs 1 mana is good, because it gives you threshold, probably. I think your opponent's probably going to overvalue this and kill it on sight when they don't have to. Trying to figure out, like, how are games going to play out? Like, I think the games where you play this on turn 1 and you start conniving on turn 3, those games are going pretty well for you. But can you afford to be conniving on turn 3? It's not a citizen, either. Oh, the flavor text, all is calm, all is well. You know me to be a trusted member of your family, and I would like to discuss the contents of our safe. He's a grifter, I get it. I don't think you always play this card. I'm gonna put it as a 4. I'm willing to be wrong on this. This spell costs 2 less to cast if target's a green permanent. Return token on a permanent and opponent controls its owner's hand, draw a card. This card's awesome. You can't bounce your own stuff, which is pretty bad, but being able to hit your opponent, like, there was multiple cards that like this in the past, right? And they've all been insane. The End of the Royal type things, right? Yeah. Well, Into the World being able to, like, have a 2-mana buyout on your own stuff, or you can also just bounce your own stuff into the world is pretty awesome. This is certainly worse than Into the World by a huge margin. Not having a 2-mana buyout and not being able to counter bounce your own stuff, which is like what you're gonna do most of the time. You're gonna play this every time. I think if you're playing blue, you're gonna be playing this, but it's not like it's a replaceable card, I think. Like this isn't a reason to be blue. But because it's a multicolored set, it's probably gonna cost 2 a lot of the time. So 2-mana bounce, repulse, draw a card. If it feels like a 7, I think it feels like a 6 to me. For a 5-mana 3/2, enters the battlefield of Connives. When you connives this way, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to it. Oh wow. This is a pretty awesome. This is way better than Out of the Way. So has anybody read the FAQ on these types of cards? Like, how does Psychic Pickpocket work with Security Bypass? It doesn't? When it connives this way, that's like such a scam. That's such a yikes. Like, let me do my 2-card combo, right? This seems pretty good. Public Enemy. 3-mana enchant aura. Enchant creature. All creatures attack enchanted creatures controller each combat if able. Enchant creature dies, draw a card. Okay, so you actually want to put this on your own creature, right? You put this on your own creature, your opponent has to attack. Wait, isn't this card completely insane? It forces your opponent to attack with all their creatures every turn? Wait, what? This seems completely insane to me. What am I missing? You don't even have to block with this. This seems really strong. Well, it's not like super good to removal, but there have been multiple unsummons that we've seen so far. Blue has a lot of unsummons. It seems like this would be a really strong sideboard card. I don't know, maybe you don't main deck this. Like, if you're ahead, why aren't you attacking your opponent, right? Trying to... Obviously, you're thinking of, like, turn 10, you play this and on, like, a stalled board state and your opponent loses. But... what about before that? Yeah, you can connive it away if you don't need it. Maybe. This is like pretty high ceiling, pretty low floor. I mean, I guess worst case, you can just put on your opponent's creature and then untap and terminate it next turn and cycle this, right? Or you play it like second main phase. You play it second main phase on your opponent's creature, and then if they attack you, you block it and they draw a card or something. Next turn, I guess you have to attack. I don't know. Yeah, this is a really weird card. They can... if they casualty it away, you still draw a card. Oh, no, but you're not going to put it on your opponent's stuff. You're going to put it on your stuff. That's right. That's weird. Sleep with the Fishes. When it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature, and you create a 1/1 can't be blocked. Wait, that's it? Wait, this is just Necrotal? Wait, it's the Necrotal that makes them a 1 fish? Is that... okay. The blue Chupacabra? Okay. Okay. The blue Chupacabra. We just get to do that. Okay, then. Put a counter on entire creature. It phases out. So this is not Snakeskin Veil. This seems pretty bad. Because the whole joke is, like, they cast a removal spell on your creature to attack you. You cast Slip out the back. They can still attack you. Works on offense? No, it doesn't. You attack your 3/3 another 4/4, and you phase out your creature. It doesn't work. You're talking about you phase out your opponent's creature? Come on, dude. I'm off it. Looks like a white card. 3-mana 2/3 enters battle with a shield counter on it. Okay. Whenever it attacks, up to one other target creature gains flying. Oh, this card's great. Although it doesn't have flying itself. That's weird. I mean, this card is good. It's just... It can't even target itself with the flying. What? What? The 2/3 attacks so poorly. Yeah, maybe this card's just bad. This looks like a white card. What's it doing as a blue uncommon? Yeah, okay, never mind. I thought it had flying or it gave itself flying. It doesn't, that's not how it works. I feel like the baseline is just like a 2/3 when all the 2-drops are like 3/3s. I don't know if I want anything to do with this. McWinsauce, that's not true. I know what you're talking about, and in Amonkhet block, you splashed for that Windrake that picks stuff up. Yes, says it is that strong. Because it also bypasses shield counters, right? Like a Chupacabra doesn't bypass shield counters, this bypasses shield counters. It is a free roll in a set with casualty, don't even bother. Don't even bother. I've not seen a casualty card that wows me, other than Rooftop Nuisance. You're saying that passivism is bad just because people have casualty. It's just like, well, that is true. It's also bad because it's passivism and not a freaking Necrotol. But anyways, yeah, I think this card's bad. Now that I've thought about it some more, I think it's bad. Yeah, it's like saying Chupacabra is bad. It's like better. It's like a super Chupacabra because they can't raise it dead because it stays in play. It's like it exiles the creature. 6 mana, casualty 2. Target player mills their library, half their library rounded down. So you play this on turn 7. Your opponent has drawn 7 cards in their opener, and let's say 7 more cards. So they have 26 cards. Let's say 25 cards in their deck. You cast this when they have 25 cards in their deck. They mill 12 cards, they go to 13. And then they mill 6 cards and they go to 7 cards. This feels like it is not good enough. I feel like your opponent can probably kill you with 7 cards. Especially if you paid 6 mana and casualtied and sacrificed a creature. No, yeah, gives them Threshold. Yeah, target yourself, I'll pass. Well, like, if they say it's midway through the game and they have 18 cards in their deck. It's like a really long, drawn-out game. They lose 9 cards, go down to 9 cards, and they lose 4 cards, go down to 5 cards. So they have 5 cards left. It's still 5 more turns, even if you cast this halfway through the game. I don't think this is where you want to be. Flash Defender Haste. Copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new targets for the copy. Okay, so the joke with this is you can copy casualty cards. So you have a casualty card, you sack a creature that's not this, but has 0 power, and you have 2 mana after that to copy it. This seems like a no-go for me. Unless there's a Terminate that I haven't seen. This seems like a no-go to me. A flash blocker for all the 3 power 2-drops people have. Ledger Shredder. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, it connives. How does this work against casualty? It doesn't, right? It seems weird to have a card like this in a set with casualty if it doesn't interact with casualty at all. You think like, oh yeah, this is a casualty hate card, except it's not. Like, the spell isn't cast, right? Just put on the stack. It is a 1/3 flyer that is going to connive at least 1 time per game, if not 2. Because it works for either player. In fact, it can connive twice in 1 turn if you both cast 2 spells, right? That seems pretty good. Yeah, it's very similar to Fairy Vandal. It is very similar to Fairy Vandal for sure. This will actually get a lot of people where they're like play 2 spells and then they're like, oh yeah, you get to connive. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Seems like it'll be pretty easy to get Threshold with this card. Yeah, you generally want to play this on turn 5, right? You play this and a 3-drop on turn 5, and your opponent plays like 2 spells on their turn 5, right? 4 mana 6/6 Trample Ward 2. At the beginning of each combat, if Reservoir Kraken is untapped, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, tap Reservoir Kraken and create a 1/1 unblockable. Okay, so it's actually just an enchantment that I feel like this is kind of functionally your opponent, at the beginning of your upkeep, your opponent taps a creature, you get a 1/1. There's an enchantment that does that, because I feel like, yeah, I don't... That's a blue Desecration Demon? Yeah, but Desecration Demon made them sack the creature, a very different thing, right? Well, it is cool you play this second... You want to play this second main phase, right? So your opponent, if they want to attack you, they have to tap a creature, and you get a blocker anyway, right? So the turn you play this is pretty favorable for you. It'll come into play and make a 1/1 a lot of the time if they're trying to attack you. Well, that means they spend an entire turn not attacking you, and you got 2 1/1s out of it, right? That doesn't seem horrible. Doesn't seem horrible. It does kill mana screw people very fast. What is the downside? You're paying 4 mana to make a 1/1 every turn. That's the downside. And there's going to be times you play this and they just don't have anything and they just die, right? So it's really hard to kill. It has ward too, and also just a 6/6, so it is really hard to kill. Undercover Operative. You may enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature, except it enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. If you could... Wait, what? Okay, so if it's as a clone. If I choose my opponent's creature, it's just a clone. If I choose my own creature, it's a clone plus shield. Is that what I'm reading? That is a weird rare. This like clone is like an uncommon level power. I don't know how good shield is, but it seems really really mopey. Kind of just not really interested in this. Clones that can only target. I guess you can copy your opponent's stuff. Yeah, I guess. This is pretty unimpressive. This is really, really unimpressive. Yeah, Mirror Image. Yeah, Mirror Image was a 3 mana uncommon, and that card was, like, pretty good. But 3 mana is, like, a big difference, right? You're talking about this. This has been an uncommon, even in low power sets like core sets. So you're paying an extra blue mana to maybe get a shield counter. And you can target... So you can buy out and target your opponent's stuff. Yeah, blue is going to be difficult for sure. Is a clone just good? Not really. That's probably fine. You know what I think is actually going to be happening with Undercover Operative? I think you're going to be copying your opponent's Inspiring Overseer to have a 4 mana, a 2 blue, 2/1 flyer, gain 1, draw a card, and you'll be happy with it. That's how I think it's going to play out. When Undercover is a common, that's right. Wiretapping. Hideaway 5, sure. Whenever you draw your first card during each of your draw steps, draw a card. Then if you have 9 or more cards in hand, you may play the... Wait, what? Wait, isn't this terrible? So basically, in your upkeep, if you have 8 cards, you can play the card. This is terrible. Oh, it's an addition? It's an arena? Oh, you're talking it's arena. It's a blue curse. Okay, it's a blue curse. Never mind. What was that curse called? Was it Curse of Surveillance? Yeah, Curse of Surveillance was pretty strong. That's what this is. It's Curse of Surveillance Plus. Although, no, Curse of Surveillance worked immediately. You draw the card immediately, right? Is on their upkeep you draw a card, and then on your upkeep you draw a card. This is only during your turn, but it has the Hideaway 5, which is just not going to happen. I think this is bad. I think this is bad. Like, this is worse than a 5-mana draw 3. It mattered the turn after you cast it, as you just saw 3 cards, right? Or if they wanted to disenchant it, then you still got a card out of it. Like, Curse of Surveillance, even if they had, like, an onboard creature that you could sack... Wasn't Cathar Commando in that set or something? So, like, even if they had to untap and, like, pay a mana to kill it, you still got a card out of it, right? The Hideaway is just flavor text on this, I think. That being said, this is probably a really good sideboard card. If it's a slow matchup. You cannot choose not to hide away is what it looks here. It's kind of a weird question to ask, but... Yeah, I mean, yeah, wiretapping does put you on a clock when you play this. You gotta win the game in 11 turns, right? 11 or 12 turns. All-Seeing Arbiter. 6 mana, 5/4 flying. When enters the battlefield or attacks, draw 2, discard 1. Whenever you discard a card, target creature an opponent controls is -X, -0 until your next turn, where X is the number of different mana values. Oh, this is cool. Even if they kill it, you still get to... Although if they kill this in response, you don't get it, right? But I don't know how many ways there are to instant speed kill a 5/4 flyer. I feel like this was a card they printed already. This was a card they printed in the past. It was like a 5 mana 4/4, right? And that card was pretty good. It was an uncommon in previous sets, right? Like whenever you discard a card -2/0 something. Yeah, it was Ominous Sphinx. Ominous Sphinx was really good. I mean, obviously this is going to be like an 8. It's not a main the draw ability. Yeah, I mean, I guess these fellows are all about being aware of their own deck damage. That is certainly something that could come up. If your opponent gains enough life, you actually can't kill them with this. This spell costs blue, blue, blue less to cast if an opponent has drawn 4 more cards this turn. Draw X cards. I don't know how your opponent's gonna draw 4 more cards. So is it X blue, 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 draw cards? This is probably not good. It's like an 8 mana draw 5, probably. There was Blue Sun Zenith. Yeah, well, the thing with Blue Sun Zenith is killing your opponent happened all the time. This is not Blue Sun Zenith. This is way worse than Blue Sun Zenith. Blue Sun Zenith would be insane in this set, right? Yeah, Blue Sun Zenith was completely insane. This is not Blue Sun Zenith. You also can't even target your opponent. It says draw X cards. You can't target your opponent to kill him as a fireball. This seems pretty medium. You're probably going to have to buy this out as a 6 mana draw 3 a lot of the time. Well, Mind Spring, it was just X blue blue draw X cards, and that card would be a lot better than this. Well, Blue Sun Zenith was insane because you could... Yeah, X blue blue is too strong as a draw spell, yes. This is supposed to be like a legacy or vintage sideboard card, right? You know, your opponent casts Brainstorm, and then you just draw a bunch of cards when they cast Brainstorm, right? The thing is, your opponent can just draw Brainstorm in your turn, and then it doesn't even work. This seems like a pretty medium minus card. I think you're just not going to want to play this. It's powerful enough that I'll put it as a 4 out of 10, but I think you're probably not going to be interested in this. There's like 2 mana draw 2s in this set. I don't know why you want to play like a 5 mana draw 2 or a 6 mana draw 3. Overall, blue looks pretty medium. Unlike other sets where there's like a clear winner, at common, they don't seem to have a ton of great cards. Unless I'm really underestimating the Sewer Crocodile. Rooftop Nuisance looks like pretty good. Could be pretty good if there's an aggro blue deck. I don't know if you want to be an aggro blue deck though. Maybe I want to make this a 5 just because like I don't know if you're actually going to be interested in playing this a lot of the time in your 12 creature deck. Well, this is a 5. It's probably more of a draft card than a sealed card. Is this their best blue common? Looks like Disdainful Stroke might just be like it might be their primary removal spell too. Disdainful Stroke is probably a 6. It kind of looks like that 4 mana Conniver is their best common. Just a 4 mana 3/4 flyer. These commons are really freaking mopey. I think I'm gonna have to make Echo Inspector like a 7, just because I think it's really. This might be like what you have to be doing. I think you just need to be able to discard a spell to this. This is gonna be like your primary creature. The Sleep of the Fishes is pretty awesome. The Psychic Pickpocket is pretty awesome. You're gonna bounce your you can bounce yourself. Oh, I didn't even think about that. You could just bounce yourself. If you were just interested in just paying 5 mana to loot. That was a thing that you wanted to do. It's somewhat amusing. The thing is that there isn't like You know, there isn't a blue card that's on the same power level as Inspiring Overseer. I mean, the Echo Inspector is the closest thing they have. I typically overvalue blue cards in most sets, but in this one, it's been really weird. The blue cards look pretty bad. You think the 1-mana looter is going to be good? You think this thing? I don't know. Maybe it... That's so much. You think the 2/2... How can... This can't be good. This can't be good because this exists. Every single seal deck is going to be having this in their deck. Like, the card... This card can't be good just because that other card exists. The card that's probably most disappointing to me is this one, because these type of effects are typically really good in sealed, and this one is just terrible. Blue looks really bad, but Sleep with the Fishes is really good. Psychic Pickpocket is really good. Out of the Way is really good. Fairy Vandal is really good. Blue having Village Rites is also interesting. Where else in blue are you sinking mana? You don't really need... Mana sinks are a luxury in sealed. They're not required. And you're playing 3 colors in your deck. Blue doesn't have to be the mana sink color. All right, well, that's gonna be it for blue. Let's see what black has to offer.